Hello everyone, my name is Mash the Stampede with TooStupidGamerz, and we have a big one for you for First Look today. That's right, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is out now, and we wanted to feature the game and give you a little of our early impressions of its gameplay. So let's get started on today's First Look video. Okay, so first off and most importantly, we need to set the record straight. Everyone's always confused about which one of these two is Zelda, and I'm honestly shocked that so many people get it wrong. It's actually neither. These two are both named Tim. But in all seriousness, Nintendo has finally done it. After years of fans asking for it, they finally set out to make a game in this franchise where the protagonist isn't the tried and true swordsman, but the neglected princess. And as you may imagine, this makes the game feel a teensy bit different. Starting off with the story, an early cutscene of the game reveals that the reason why we're playing as Princess Zelda is simply that Link goofs and gets sucked up into a vacuous hole left by the evil Ganon, and therefore the spotlight is able to move on over to the remaining important character in the room. Honestly, kind of a cheap way to justify the change. Like, anyone can fall into a giant vacuous hole in the ground. It's alright, you can admit it. It happens to all of us. So Link makes this mistake, and well, fine. Now we'll let you play as Zelda. A little later on, we learned that the vacuous hole is a lot more sinister than we imagined. The different characters falling in will become evil, and even the King of Hyrule himself imprisons his own daughter. That's just the beginning of the story in Echoes of Wisdom. As a quick side note, it's kind of weird that Zelda is a silent protagonist. I guess in this series, being the main character causes you to lose your voice. It's just, when I think back to how you first meet Princess Zelda in past games, she typically gives you a whole backstory to whatever's going on at that time. In Link to the Past, it's literally how the game starts, by her calling out to Link. So anyway, it's just kinda odd that she can't talk now. The game starts you off, funnily enough, playing as Link. He has a fully equipped sword, shield, bomb, and arrows. This guy is armed and ready to go. He's taken up the charge to rescue the princess by defeating Ganon. The gameplay here is super easy, but it's also incredibly fun. It kinda makes me think that the decision to open the game like this may be off-putting for some players. Think about it. The Zelda series has always been known as an action-adventure game where you use your sword fighter main character to defeat enemies and save the princess. So naturally, this is what the audience now comes to expect from this series. We already know the gameplay is going to be different, but if you started off in this way, you might then lose some folks when the player has to switch to the Zelda part of the game. It's actually kind of reminding me when I first played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and you have this beefed up Alucard at the start of the game, but then the Grim Reaper shows up and takes all of your powers away. So at that point, you have to continue the game as a much weaker version of the protagonist. In retrospect, I guess it's closer to the Richter fight that's also at the beginning of Symphony of the Night, being that Richter and Alucard play so different, but the point still stands. I'm left wondering, after this really cool intro, about what it would have been like if this was just a super stylized remake of Link to the Past, and we got to play the entire game as Link. I'm savoring what that game would have been like to play. There is no denying that this is a gripping opener, but it does leave me wanting more of that awesome sword fighting section to enjoy. So then, Mash, what do we get for gameplay instead of the usual type of action-adventure combat? Well, like I said, prepare yourself for playing a Zelda game where you get to play as Zelda for a change. However, this also brings with it a new gameplay style, which is mostly based on summoning objects. Zelda can still cut grass, throw pots, rocks, a lot of the usual stuff, but the main change they made was the inclusion of the Tri-Rod, allowing the learning and subsequent summoning of just about anything Zelda could need. I was skeptical. The initial trailer for Echoes of Wisdom did not sell me that this would be a good way to experience a Zelda game, especially since Link's Awakening was such a fun game for me. But having only a small taste of this game, I am happy to report that the gameplay is in fact good. Although it takes some getting used to. It still feels weird to be running around and not sword slashing enemies, instead having to find other ways to fight. I can't shake the oddness of this experience, but regardless, I had fun all the way, and I'll tell you why. Exploration and puzzle solving were already instrumental to the Zelda formula, so the summoning game mechanic actually does wonders in this department. It was genuinely fun to put together different objects to make your way across gapped passages or conjure up a group of bats to attack an enemy. I could see myself losing hours to this sort of gameplay and can only imagine what the rest of Echoes has in store for us. Now, I will say as far as cons go, it felt a little weird the way the menu was, switching between the object. They make you go down a whole line to select the object to be summoned. As I continued to play, this line of objects expanded further and further and further until it was a pretty long list. It seems to sort the list according to most recently used, but it felt inefficient to make the player select an item for summoning in this manner. Even though they instruct us to select items this way, we can also do so by going to the menu where everything is laid out in a grid. I like that way better. At times, the item summoning was a little awkward. In other series, for example Harvest Moon, when you go to place something, there is an indication of where it will be put before you put it there. Nothing like that exists here, which led me to misplace a summon on more than one occasion. Also, the camera perspective lends itself to a bit of awkwardness, as sometimes it's not really clear the height or distance between objects. One time, I tried to reach a high above ledge, which required stacking your summons. I thought I needed a tree, the tallest in my arsenal at that time, followed by a crate, and then a stool. It was, in height, a 1, 2, 3 climb up. But I didn't realize the ledge wasn't actually that high, and therefore it would have been perfectly fine to climb up with just a crate and a stool. Again, if the game world wasn't presented to us in this angled isometric style, or even if we just had a grid for reference, this could have been clear to me at the time. But these are all just nitpicks. At the risk of making this video too long, I'll sum up by saying that change is good. Never judge a book by its cover. The game isn't perfect. It's not the Link's Awakening 2, but instead a remake of LTTP that I wanted. But they've done something interesting here. Now, the only other thing I have to say is that I'm worried about Zelda's portrayal. I'm worried that Zelda is still gonna feel like a helpless damsel in distress as opposed to a strong protagonist that can fend for herself. In the opening of the game alone, we have both Link and her father, the King of Hyrule, literally taking an action to save/push her in the right direction. Given the whole playing as Zelda concept, that was something I thought we wouldn't see here. I thought the point of giving fans a Zelda-focused game was to show that she also has courage and power on her own. You know, unlike Princess Peach, who I always saw as more of a damsel needing to be saved by Mario, I viewed Zelda differently. The previous games portrayed her at times as this admirable heroine who can stand up for herself in the face of adversity. So it's sad to see, despite all of that, Zelda still just being a princess, and she's still not as courageous as Link or even her dad, and not as powerful as Ganon, as seen in some of the earlier moments of Echoes of Wisdom. I'm calling it right now. If this game doesn't feature Sheik at some point, then go ahead, ask for your money back. It's not worth a dime. Nintendo, if you're gonna commit, then commit. This better only be an early game sort of thing that Zelda develops out of. If the object of this game was to flip the script, then by all means, I want to see Zelda taking risks. I want to see Zelda save the day. And hopefully by the time I get to finish this game, that'll be the case. But these are all just my early thoughts. I will, without a doubt, get through the rest of this game sometime before the end of the year and talk more about it for the channel at one point. My early dive into Echoes of Wisdom really leaves me curious to see what else Nintendo has done here to make the game different than your standard old Zelda title. Oh, and this better not be the last we see of this sweet Link's Awakening art style for a Zelda game. I mean, I'm not kidding you guys. I came away from that opening section where you play as Link, yearning for more of that. It looks so good, it plays super fluid, and I want them to do this again in the future at some point. It's just for now, it's Zelda's time to shine. So that's it, this latest Nintendo title launched September 26, 2024, and is available exclusively for the Nintendo Switch. Have you played it? Let us know in the comments below. We're curious to hear what your thoughts are. Is the change from combat heavy to puzzle welcome or unwanted? We want to hear what you think. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more awesome content. We'll be sure to bring more first looks and other great videos for you soon. This has been Mash the Stampede for TooStupidGamerz. See you next time.